Mr. Clark, whenever you're ready, we're good to go. Okay, okay. And we're on Zoom. Is that where we are? We said we're on Zoom. Oh, Phil's here. We just talked to you. We're waiting for you. Good evening to whoever's in the room. Good evening, everyone on Zoom. My name is Mark Schwartz, Mayor of the Township of Teaneck. Also, I guess, de facto chair of the zoning subcommittee. Over the many years, we get presentations or we get requests from developers to build a building here, build a building there. We've had several over the last 2 or 3 years. We've had several community meetings related to various topics. So when this particular site came up, the developer was presenting to us two options. And when I mean presenting, that's an informal presentation. It's not vote now, we're good to go. But when the conversation started with, hey, we can go with this or with that, and we looked at each other and we're like, let's see what everyone thinks. We don't, nothing's binding. It's just it's a conversation. And so there were two general ideas and everything will be drilled down more. Coming out of this meeting, the developer will go back, take the advice, come back to the zoning subcommittee and start the process. This is a long process. This is the beginning of the process. It's not the end of the process. It's not the middle of the process. Legally, I guess hypothetically, if this were to proceed, there'd be at least 7 to 10 meetings, public meetings thereafter. But we just, thank everyone for coming out just to kind of give us your feedback. And I'd love to hear from everyone so I can say, she said do this, so I'm going to blame you. So really, we're here to blame you. All right. So with that, the presentation tonight will be run by Jason Suvel. Jason is the attorney for the applicant. Jason is also the attorney for many buildings in Teaneck. And the reason I mention that is because he knows Teaneck and he knows the process. It's not some guy that we pulled off the side of the street and came in and is bringing Hoboken to Teaneck or upstate New York to Teaneck. So with that, Jason, please take over.
All right. Thank you, everybody. So this is a proposal for 827 Teaneck Road. I think everybody knows where the property is located. It's at the intersection of Teaneck Road, Golf Court, right across from the municipal building. There's been a restaurant at the property for quite some time. I think it was Regina's for a while, and now it's something else. So the goal was to redevelop the site with a multifamily building. It would have a set aside for affordable housing as well. And with the new requirements for municipalities, affordable housing is going to be required in all these types of projects. So you'll see two proposals tonight. One's a 5-story building, one's a 4-story building. Each proposal would have a 20% set aside of affordable units. That's correct. Yeah, the requirement now in the can you not hear me, Doug? Okay. Oh, so sorry. So the question was, or the comment was, that the ordinance now requires 15%, but now with the town's 4th round obligation with respect to provide more affordable housing, when we met with the zoning subcommittee had indicated that a 20% set aside was more preferable than a 15 in order to make the numbers work for the town's affordable housing obligation. So we have two proposals. One is a 5-story proposal and one is a 4-story proposal. And I'll have our architect, Conrad Roncati, go through these in a second. But this is just to preview what you're going to hear. The 5-story proposal is 27 units with 40 parking spaces for those 27 units. Okay. And the 4-story proposal would actually be 39 units with about 39 parking spaces. Our client prefers the 5-story proposal, which is actually less units because it takes up less of the property and actually has a greater setback to the residential behind it to the east. So we're just going to explain both proposals. Obviously, the developer would be willing to build either of them, but we felt that the 5-story proposal was more optimal. As part of the project, obviously, you're just going to see concepts now. You're not going to see final elevations or final site plans. But clearly, with any project, should it move forward, we would get a traffic study. We would get a stormwater management report to deal with any drainage issues in the area. We'd have to improve it over what exists today. We would have, obviously, aesthetically pleasing elevations. We'd have to have new lighting as well. That would be LED, cut off fixtures. So all these things would be incorporated into any final design that would go before the planning board. So what I'd like to do is have Conrad Roncati, who's our architect, come up, go through both iterations, and then I'll leave it to the town how they want to handle it. But we're happy to field any questions or comments that the public may have regarding the two options that we're proposing. And I know I'm saying a lot with regard to number of units, number of parking spaces, how the affordable versus the market rate works. So there might be a lot of questions about that, and I anticipate that, and we're happy to answer them. Just so you know, too, with regard to affordable housing, once we have a set aside, whether it be 15 or in this case 20%, state regulations require us to provide a certain amount of 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 1 bedroom. So we have to adhere to those guidelines, just so everybody's aware. So should I have Conrad present first, and then we could ask questions? So is that better? Then we'll get to everybody's questions. So Conrad, why don't you come up? And then Doug, what we could do is once Conrad wants you.
Evening, everyone. Jason did a great job of summarizing what we're here tonight to talk about. Again, we appreciate you coming out. We have 2 distinct ideas, 2 distinct approaches to how we might go about redeveloping this property, and we wanted your input. As Jason mentioned, we have prepared some diagrams, some massing, even some renderings. But again, I would caution, as Jason did, that these are very preliminary. We're in an evaluation phase of this, which thankfully you're here tonight. We get to have your input back. So we're here tonight to present, to discuss, and get your response. As was mentioned, there are 2 ways of approaching this property. The first approach would be what I would call really a conventional, common Bergen County and Teaneck solution, which you've seen on other recent projects. I don't know how many of you are out here because this building is and site is near your home or business, or whether or not, thank you, show of hands is helpful. Or whether you're familiar with this process and you're here frequently looking at other development projects in town. A conventional approach to this site is to build a building elevated over a parking garage. It's very common. We see it in Teaneck. We see it in a lot of neighboring communities. The reason for that is we're not in the middle of the country where we have 10-acre parcels to put garden apartments on. We're restricted in this site. It is and was a commercial use. I believe there are some residential units on the upper floor, if I'm not mistaken. I was the architect when it was converted. Can't remember the name before Regina's. Saints Cafe. I beat you to it, didn't I? I think I did. So we were the ones, I was the architect when we converted, so I'm familiar with the property, certainly familiar with the building. So on the screen, on the left side in that blue diagram is the footprint of that conventional approach. So Teaneck Road is at the bottom, north is to the left in this drawing, Golf Court is to the right. Of course, we're here at the municipal building directly across the street on Teaneck Road. So that blue building, you see it's kind of a somewhat of an L shape. That would cover the majority of the site. It would have parking underneath it. So you'd pull into a parking garage. It could be on columns, and where the parking is exposed, it could be screened, but essentially a building that sits over parking. And that building would be 4 stories. After designing that, which I'll show you a few more diagrams, I was looking at the site and I thought maybe there's another way to approach this. We have on the right, option 2. Option 2 is building a residential building essentially on the footprint of what is now Regina's. So where you see it now would be a building that would be admittedly taller, but would essentially be the same footprint, a little bit deeper in an east-west direction, but essentially that footprint. So if you can imagine what that building looks like now, maybe a little bit bigger and a little bit taller. The reason I wanted to investigate this was because I felt that the building over the parking being consuming a large part of the site, I might be able to get a building that had a smaller footprint and didn't spread itself out over the site. The parking lot that you see on the right side is essentially the parking lot that's there now. So not a lot would change about the site itself. The ingress, egress points would be the same. Obviously less traffic because we don't have a commercial use, but the parking lot would remain the same. We'd essentially replace the building that's there with a taller structure. Now, in order to get this to work, we have to balance the amount of parking we're proposing to the number of units in either of these two options, right? On the left, I have a 4-story building. On the right, I went to 5 stories. I went to 5 stories because I'm trying to get close to the number of units that I have on the left-hand side of the screen. So in that left-hand side, with the 4 stories over parking, I have 3 residential floors, 39 units, and 39 parking spaces. In option 2, the 5-story building, I have less units. I have 27, so 39 to 27, but I'm not constructing that building over a parking garage. I'm using the existing surface parking, and we believe, based on the lot that's there, perhaps by adding 8 tandem spots, which would be used by 2-bedroom units, that we could get to 40 parking spaces and 27 units. So forgive me, I know that was a long preamble, and I think a picture tells 1,000 words. So if we could go to the next slide. So now looking at this from a graphic standpoint, not just in plan, but looking at the building 3-dimensionally, again, these are not buildings, they're not depicting any architecture or style, but they're massing studies. So on the left, in that reddish color, would be the 3 stories over parking. That's the lower building, but spread out a little bit more on the property. On the right is the 5-story plan. As you can see, the footprint is a lot smaller. It is a story taller, but it's also not 5 floors over parking. In the scheme with 3 floors over parking, that ground floor, floor to floor, has to be a lot taller. Needs to be about 14 or 15 feet. So it's actually only a 12-foot differential between these 2 buildings in terms of height. Correct. So we have a lot more, that all the light and air and setback that you have now is essentially preserved. This building would require a variance for front yard setback from the municipality and the board. However, we feel that because the existing building is on that corner, we have a very good argument, we think very good planning purpose to continue to use that footprint out near the corner. So the next slide continues to depict the massing. So now this is the same massing, but looking north to south. The municipal building where we are is off to the right. Teaneck Road is on the right side of the building. Obviously, the blue is still the 5-story building over and above the current Regina's building. And on the left is the more spread out, lower but more spread out option. Next slide, please. So we did some drawings, some sketches again, just to investigate what this might look like. Our first concept when we were doing the 3 stories over parking was a more modern aesthetic, a more modern building. So again, I just ask that we don't get caught up in aesthetics and look more to the massing and the size. But on the left is the 3 stories over parking, and that would be taken with our back to the municipal building, looking east across Teaneck Road. And just as the massing diagrams I just showed you depict, this building is wider than it is taller, right? So it's spread out on the site. On the right is a rendering of what the 5-story building might look like. In this iteration, we went a little bit more traditional, a little bit more classic, perhaps in the aesthetic than the modern on the left. But this is the 5 stories occupying that corner. Also, the 5th floor, we're proposing that perhaps we can cut that back. So introduced a mansard style roof, and that would taper that 5th floor, further mitigating that height. Next slide. I think that might be the end of that exhibit. So I have one other exhibit to just quickly run through. Next slide, please. So just to focus on the 5-story plan, I did more massing looking from 4 different quadrants. Again, my personal feeling is that this 5-story, although it's 1 story higher, is a much more viable plan. It's less units, and certainly going from 39 to 27 has an economic impact on the developer, but I think it's a better planning concept. So I focus these next few slides just on that 5-story, because I want everyone to see the space, the light, the area, and maintaining the site essentially as it is today. So this is south looking north in a northwesterly direction. Next slide, please. This is south looking northeast, so Teaneck Road is to the left of the building. Gulf to the right of the blue mass. Next slide, please. This is north looking south, somewhat southeasterly direction. The green lawn area that's depicted here in the front along Teaneck Road, that's the area that we could create 8 additional parking spaces for tandem. I didn't draw the site plan, but that's the area. Other than that, no other parking would get any closer than it is now to the adjacent property. Next slide, please. And this is similar to one we saw before, north looking southwest. Next slide. 2 more slides. So on this one more slide, sorry. This I just got a little bit closer. In the rendering, looking to the southwest, the hospital in the background, the office along Teaneck Road, and then the residential neighborhood off to the east and to the north on the left side of this slide. That's the last slide. Thank you. So we're happy to take any questions. I know. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, do we need a microphone or? Not your fault.
Design related, I'll take it.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Bing. I've been a long time. Oh, from the bottom? Oh, okay. I've been a long time resident of Teaneck for 28 years. And did you look at any other sites other than Regina's?
No, because the client owns this property. So they'd be just developing the property that they own.
Oh, okay. And would this be like for affordable housing? Will this be a lottery for that?
So the affordable housing is not controlled by the owner. So the owner gets the property approved, and then the town, and the town attorney can explain more to you, but the town actually controls and state regulations control who's eligible for the affordable housing. The owner does not have any say in that.
Okay, so the town, I'm sorry, the town controls that.
Yeah, it's a it's a system, it's a lottery system. So you can't have your brother-in-law be the first person online, to get the affordable unit. It's done pursuant to state regulations.
So the town is
I-
in control of that,
They administer it, correct?
administer that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, the owner has no say in who gets the unit.
right. And so with this proposal, there are, I wrote
Yeah,
down some
if you
notes.
go with the five, to answer your question, if you go with the 5-story proposal with 27 units, it's a 5.4. So it would be 5 units, and then the way the ordinance reads, I believe a contribution for the fraction of the remainder unit to the town's affordable housing trust fund that goes to other affordable housing aspects that the town is involved in. So
Oh.
five units,
Okay, so 5 units out of the
27,
27 would be affordable housing.
correct.
Okay. And what's the criteria for that? I mean, I guess it gets according to income.
Yeah, it's all state regulated. The owner has no say in any of that. That's okay. That's okay.
But the other development which is on Township Avenue, they said I was qualified. I didn't get a response or anything, for affordable housing. This is like luxury, excuse me, I'll pull up. This is what they call, luxury.
Yeah, talk through the mic, just,
The other way.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Excuse me.
It's all good.
This is considered like luxury apartments. It's not condos or anything. It's luxury apartment buildings,
Right, it's a rental building, correct.
rental buildings. Okay. And if I can have, your information, I guess this is all recorded. Maybe I came a little bit late and I didn't get your information. And what is your position here?
Oh, I'm the attorney for the developer.
Oh, you're the
Yeah,
attorney.
and Conrad's the architect. He designed the building.
Right, your name is Jason?
That's me. Yeah.
Okay, hi, I'm Dorothy.
How are you?
I'm good. Okay, I have enough information. I still have more questions.
Sure.
I will write them down as we proceed, and let's see where this goes,
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Do you who's choosing who, okay. I think your hand was raised right away. Do you want, yeah, go to the mic, because, yeah, the clerk is requiring that you go to the,
So people at home can hear us.
I know,
Okay.
I know.
My name is Kathleen Algian. I live on East Cedar Lane, 46 years. Really matters to me about this site.
Sure.
Regina's was very nice. They were very good neighbors. Saints Cafe was a thorn in our side their entire existence. So it matters to us what happens. So my first question is, does the developer own this property at this point in time?
Yes, yes.
So that's a done deal?
Yes.
Okay. My second question, which is of concern, is you mentioned the number of parking spaces.
Right.
Have you taken into account the fact that most families have 2 cars?
So there's actually, I don't know if you're aware of this, the town actually commissioned their own parking analysis of all of the not all, but many of the newer multifamily buildings within the municipality. And the ratio that we're parking the 5-story building is at the ratio that those units those buildings park at and have a demand. We would also, like I said earlier, because this is very preliminary,
Mhm.
we would have our own traffic consultant do a parking and traffic analysis. It wouldn't only be required by the town, but this is a county road.
Yes, it
Teaneck,
is, yeah.
Teaneck Road over here. So they would require it, but this would be less traffic and less of a parking demand than than the restaurant that was there.
Okay, because we have parking restrictions on our street,
Yeah, sure.
and the
So-
bank doesn't allow anybody to park.
So one of the things that the town has insisted upon in other projects, and they can jump in, one of the council people or the mayor, is that you cannot charge for parking. Because what was happening, I guess, on other locations is if you charge for parking, then people do exactly what you're saying. So we would not be, if this were to move to the next step at any time, I'm assuming that they would make that a condition that we couldn't do that.
Okay, I'm sure I'll have more questions,
Sure.
but thank you.
I'm gonna jump in, I'll answer that question. Two things, I'll further reply on your question, the question before. In our new buildings, what we found that we were building too much parking. And certain of our larger buildings have acres of parking lots sitting empty. So what we did was we had a study, and the study came out that the average unit needed 1.17 parking spots. The two bedrooms need more because more people live there. But more importantly, into your question, was buildings that are in commercial districts, we do not allow the landlord to charge for parking. Yes, it could be in the rent, but you, should you move there, don't get the option, because what we found that certain residents like 1500 Teaneck Road, which was along State Street and between Queen Anne and Teaneck Road, was, well, I don't want to pay $125. I'm just going to park on the street. So by introducing all these new units, we took up street parking. So we now say that you have to pay for parking. You don't want to park there, that's your business, but you're going to pay for it. And you can bet once you pay for parking, you're going to use the parking spot that we provide. Whereas buildings such as 329 Alfred Avenue, which are not in a commercial district, there we say you could continue to do it as you want because there are no other options for where you can park. And going back to the young lady over here, it's a lottery-based system controlled. We hire a third-party provider because just like the developer doesn't want his brother asking for the units, I don't want that either. And so it's a third-party provider that oversees a lottery. That said, Parkside Lane, Haluba, as we call it, on Palisades Avenue, had well over 1,000 applicants for 16 spots.
I got one of the spots as far as I got a response saying they accepted my application.
Right.
But after that, I didn't get any more information.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's done,
Mhm.
and that's just disrespectful.
I'll definitely speak with them, because if there's an email list, it's very simple to send an email. So I'll definitely give them a call. Again, it's a third party, it's not the town, and everyone should get a response. Unfortunately, nothing to do with that. The demand is just so high. We can be building, we're talking thousands of requests for that building had less because that building required a purchase. But when we do some of our other buildings, the demand that he's getting is well north of 1,000 for the applications, because it goes out to, I thought it was 3, but I believe it's now 4 counties. It's 4 counties that are eligible to apply for.
Cut you off, but I thought Teaneck residents got preference of that particular site.
Right. So I'll answer that.
I did not hear anything back, and they accepted my application. Piazza, the developer, I heard nothing back. Next thing I knew, it was open and everything is full.
Unfortunately, it's not Teaneck residents. It's open to one of the 4 counties. And the reason for that's a state law. There are workarounds to that, but the workaround, which is if you have a housing authority, you can then designate it just for your residents, but that does not count towards our affordable housing requirements. So we would have to just keep on building and building and building and never reach our requirements that are already where we owe 384 under dispute, but in dispute, 384 units. So keep on the waiting list, keep on applying. Eventually, it's more of a scratch off than the Mega Million. So let's hope it's the odds are better.
Other than they accepted my application.
No, did you apply? I'm sorry to interrupt other people. Did you apply for the one at 329 Alfred Avenue?
I applied for the one that house.
Okay, because that one's still, may even still be open. That one came out about 2. It's on their list. 329 Alfred Avenue, the Marks, MARQ. It's on Piazza's waiting list, and it may still be open. Okay. Go right.
I believe that this gentleman was, I thought was next. Sorry, I'll go to you next, I promise. Okay, sorry.
Hi. Hope this works. So my name is Isaiah Vallejo Justy. That's my house, the blue one right there at the bottom. That's actually my house. So I'm very affected by this. I have a few questions. First, do we understand what this is going to do to property values in the area? Second, the traffic. The traffic, I drove here from there because crossing Teaneck Road is insane right now, right? And I know you said that the traffic is less than it would be under the restaurant. The restaurant's kind of closed and the traffic is still insane. So when we add 40 or so spaces, let's say 30 are filled at any given time, what's that going to do to the traffic in the area? Right, there's been accidents on that road. I've been in an
So
accident on that
do you
road.
want me to answer that one before you go to the next
Sure,
question?
go ahead.
Okay, so like I said earlier, we'd get a traffic study that we would submit not only to the township's professionals, but the county. But also, there's a lot of uses that are permitted in that zone right now. Like you could do like office, retail, et cetera. So I know you're kind of viewing it as what's there now and it's a closed restaurant. I get that. But you could open a restaurant there now within the interior that would have different hours than the current one. That would generate a lot more traffic. And a lot of the uses that are permitted within the zone that could just operate there as of right would have way more traffic than 27 residential units. So it's unfortunate. You can't view it as if the property's vacant land and nothing's going on. But if you compare it to what's permitted in the zone in this area, what we're proposing, and we'll have the data and we'll provide it to the town as well, is a lot less impactful from a traffic perspective than just 27 residential units. And we'll supply that data for everybody to review before the town makes any decision on the issue.
And as far as property value?
Property value, we don't get involved with property value in terms of as the developer, but the town will require that it's meets all building code construction. It'll also require certain landscaping requirements, improvements as it relates to stormwater management, aesthetics on the building regarding design standards. So they're going to require us to put a top-notch product at this area.
What about as far as standards of who you're allowing in the building? Right, so for example, if I'm going to rent an apartment there, I live right there.
Sure.
Right? Just so you know, that block right there, Bennett Road, doesn't allow parking up until about maybe like a full
Okay,
block up.
sure.
Right? So I would be very concerned. For example, somebody said previously that Regina's was a good neighbor. My opinion, Regina's was a horrible neighbor. Right? And the reason for that is because it became a club and there were fights and there was screaming and the police were being called. It was horrible.
So, I
Right.
mean,
So I'm very concerned about what the owner is going to do to the building, given the lack of care that the owner showed to the neighbors before.
so this owner purchased it very recently, I would say within the last year or so. So that's one thing. The second is the amount of, this won't be open till, it's not going to be a commercial establishment that's open till 2 a.m. with a liquor license like it was previously. So, nor will it have music or anything like that. So it's just a typical residential building. Nor will it generate the amount of trash that a restaurant did either, where you have to have multiple pickups by, a trash truck or anything like that. So I understand why you're concerned because you live so close by and you want to make sure that it's done correctly. But just from an impact standpoint, all the things that you're bringing up, which is why we thought it was a good idea to do residential, traffic, noise, hours of operation will all be way less impactful on the residential area. That's another reason Conrad also, from an impact perspective, felt that the 5-story building was better just because we wanted that setback to be maintained as to what exists today. So you felt that provided more light, air, and open space, correct?
Right. So again, like I presented, keeping the footprint of the building where it is, even though we're proposing this to be 1 story taller, maintains the integrity of the site, the light and air, and the separation and all of the setbacks, almost the same as what you have.
Yeah, and go ahead, I'm sorry.
And
Answer
this
your
is
question.
something that the town has to approve?
Yeah, we have to go through a process. This is very preliminary. I can tell you from experience, knowing the mayor and the deputy mayors that are on the zoning subcommittee and the planning board, they're probably going to require that we do significant amount of landscaping, fencing, and a lot of other things that will mitigate any issues and enhance the property from where it is now.
And the new owner purchased the building when?
I want to say within the last, A little over a year ago, okay.
Okay, and they purchased it as a restaurant or with the idea to build on it?
They purchased it the way that it was, but then the applicant came to us and felt that this was a better proposal for the area.
So they thought that they would be running a restaurant?
I don't know what the thought, I don't think it matters, but yeah.
No, it matters because if they bought it with the idea that they're gonna build on it, I'm wondering whether they had spoken to anybody in the town before purchasing the building.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think I could stand though,
That-
because I had like knee surgery.
Do you want to hand her the mic maybe?
It really hurts.
Doug, does it go? Do the best we can.
Maybe not. Well, you had it before that you were able to bring it to somebody. so-
It wasn't that long.
All right. Do I need to move up?
Can you come to this?
I can do that. Okay, thanks. Good? Oh my God, I hear myself. My Brooklyn accent. But my name is Joyce Garland. I've been in Teaneck for 5 years. I own 2 co-ops nearby. So my question is actually a few questions combined, but then I need to get them out and then you please answer them.
ahead.
So I'm going to just say a few of them and maybe, we'll see what happens or I'll repeat it if necessary. So maybe I'm new to this. This is my first meeting hearing about this. But here are my questions. First of all, and let me just get through my questions. First of all, whose idea was this to make affordable housing? Not that I have anything wrong or anything opposed to it. I just want to know why it's already been talked about or designated for this. My other question is, does it have to be this? My other question is, how does this benefit Teaneck over, let's say, a commercial property? I still have my doubts that this would be less traffic than commercial because you're having so many more people living here, not just going to an establishment that's open a few hours a day. You're having several units, which probably will have more than one person per unit and perhaps more than one vehicle. I do think that there's going to be more traffic, just common sense wise.
Just so you know, on the traffic side, and we'll provide a full traffic study, in doing land use for, well, now 20 years, there's no way a building of this size would generate a substantial amount of traffic over the retail, restaurant, and other types of uses that are permitted within a zone. Like, just look at a 7-Eleven, for example. I'm not saying you have to pick that user for this, but just by way of example, how many more cars come out of a small 3,000 square foot store in an hour versus a 27 unit building? It's like night and day. It's not even close.
Correct, but it's also, if you're talking, let's say a 7-Eleven, for instance, you're talking a very quick exchange. You're not talking people that are there. Maybe there will be, I'm hoping if this is the case, it'll be a decent, for lack of a better word, crowd, bunch of residents and not
Right, so-
riffraff,
so
not gangs,
somebody
not
would just-
problems. We don't really know.
Well, that's the case with any house
Correct.
or apartment that's sold
As
anywhere.
opposed to something commercial or whatever that's an in and out kind of situation, possibly not people hanging out there, just doing their business and leaving. And there's none of that.
I've been doing this almost 40 years. I've never seen a commercial development generate less traffic than a residential rental apartment building. He's right. And we'll prove it out
Yeah.
as part of the process. There's no way this creates a traffic problem
Okay.
compared to what's allowable now.
Also, the car gets there and then it stays there and then it doesn't go off the site. Whereas you have constant in and out from quick service retail users. To answer your other question about the affordable housing, we have to do it. Anytime you propose residential now, almost anywhere in New Jersey,
Right.
you have to do, a portion of it has to be.
I think I said that wrong. Why residential housing to begin with? Why is that? Is that set in stone? I mean, you did the architecture already
Yeah.
and everything.
We
Um,
feel it's
and
the highest.
and who decided it?
We feel it's the highest and best use for the property. We think it's in keeping with the purpose and intent of the Teaneck master plan. We think it's good for the neighborhood. There's obviously a demand for housing in Teaneck. And we think on balance, as Jason has said, restoring it as a commercial use, restaurant or retail, is more negatively impactful to the borough, to the township rather, and to the neighborhood than a very small, what is a very small residential multifamily building.
Who's the we? Who's the we that decided this?
When the owner, like just like
And,
any owner of any.
and being this is public record, so I don't have to go look it up. Who is the owner?
The owner is I got to look up the exact LLC, but the owner, the principal, the owner is sitting right there.
Hello.
I know I just walked in, I just. What? Oh, I'm so
Um,
sorry.
Well,
I'm
this,
so sorry.
also, maybe I just didn't understand this. It's really not a big point, but when you had said, I mean, clearly the 5-story, in my opinion, is also the way to go, logically, with the setback and other things that you mentioned. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. But, you know, you did the two. Right, but-
We're planning on making an application. We're trying to determine feedback. We think we're on the right path. I've been very clear about
Mhm.
the process that we went through and why we think the one that's on the screen, the 5 stories, the better of the two.
I would agree with that.
choices. So that's what we're here to get feedback on.
However, what did you mean? And like I said, this is where I'm a little confused, and it's not the 8 tandem spots. What are the tandem spots for? And exactly, can you show me there where they would be?
Sure. So tandem spots are parking spaces where one car is in front of another.
Just like your drive.
And that's still for the residents only?
Yes.
Yeah, only for
And
residents.
there's no guest parking at all?
Jason's right. If you have a home and you have a driveway and you park one car and one behind it, that's tandem. We do this frequently. It's very common. Two different unit owners wouldn't share tandem spots, but have to be one household.
So more than one household can have more than one parking space?
Right. So we have 8 2-bedroom units in the building, and we would provide them with the tandem spots.
So,
It saves area, it saves
Right.
space. It keeps us from having to consume a lot more area for parking.
and that would knock down trees and things
No,
over there?
no,
Or,
Not one tree.
oh, I thought it was like across from it or
It's that
something.
little part of that.
Some
little-
greenery
about
somewhere.
Half of that green strip in the slide along Teaneck Road in front of
Can-
the
I have no idea where that is.
purple car. I can't really point to it, but if you see the 5-story building,
Correct,
the
yeah.
grass, to the right, there's a little green
Oh.
one, would be about half of that.
Would be 8, half of that would be 8 spots?
Yes,
Okay, I think, and you, the bottom line is you feel, everybody feels that having this is better than putting something else there
I mean, that's what
for the town and for the
The-
community.
the developer, that's what he would like to do. So it's our job to look at the design, look at the surrounding area, work with the town and try to come up with the best product possible. Obviously, everybody has their own opinion on what might be a good thing or a negative thing. But we feel that based on the design, the location of the property, the needs of the municipality and all municipalities in New Jersey for affordables, and with affordables typically come market rate, which this would have, that it's a good use of the property. But everybody obviously is entitled to their own thoughts on that.
So this would benefit Teaneck greater. Is it a fact over some other commercial property? Is that a fact?
It depends on that's a very subjective
Correct.
statement, but I would say that there are many benefits that are derived from this project.
And that would benefit the town
Correct, yes.
as well as future residents
Sure.
or current residents that want
Yes.
to move
Yeah.
there. But it's still subjective. That might, not to destroy somebody's goal, dreams, and finances, but that's not to say something else might be better and more beneficial to Teaneck, correct? Is it possible?
All we need is an easel, then we'll have real comedy. Yeah. Hi, so my name is Michael Ash. I'm the attorney for Teaneck. To answer your question, the best I could come up with, I think there are at least 4 tangible benefits to Teaneck. One is going to create a much bigger tax bill. Well, it comes down to the entire tax base for the town. So if there are more new ratables that are contributing overall to higher taxes, that means everybody else, all the other residents and taxpayers in town, you keep things level. And that's important for the whole community. 2, every town, including Teaneck, has a legal obligation to create affordable housing units. The way that we do this in New Jersey, and this is done in every town, when you have a building like this, where you have 27 total units, by building 22 market rate units, which are going to be rented for as much rent as they can possibly charge. And I'm always shocked by how much rent these buildings do charge.
So am I.
And they are always full because there is a huge demand for housing in North Jersey.
Correct.
So the 22 market rate units help support and subsidize the 5 affordable units. And those 5 affordable units, that is a significant, even though it's just 5, having the 5 is a significant contribution to satisfying Teaneck's overall legal obligation.
And in the affordable units, does that mean Section 8?
No, it means affordable housing is a misnomer.
Or does it not mean Section 8? Or
Affordable
could it?
affordable housing really means worker housing. So it's people that are medium to low income, and that means teachers, police officers, firefighters, people who work in our communities, who work for our communities, and maybe they don't make 6 figures a year to be able to afford $2,700 rent apartment. They still want to live here, and they still want to live in a nice building like that. So if you meet those income requirements, you can apply through Teaneck's Affordable Housing Administrator, who is Frank Piazza, and it goes to a lottery. And you'll never know who those 5 affordable tenants are.
Right.
They're living in an apartment that looks just like the other 22.
Mhm.
And that is a net benefit for the community. Now, you're also going to have a different and more variety in housing available for Teaneck residents. So people who live in the neighborhood, you may come to a point where your life changes. You want to sell your house, but you still want to live in Teaneck. You want to downsize. An apartment in this location might be a good option. May not be for you right now today, but in the future, it's good to have that variety, choices, options in your own community.
Well, that's what happened with me. I had a home in Closter, and now I have 2 co-ops. I had to downsize for many reasons, including my children went off to college and never came back, and I knew they wouldn't. So I didn't need a house, couldn't
Right.
afford a house. Teaneck was a solution for me. So I totally understand that. However, like I said, I own 2 co-ops. There happens to be Section 8 there. Now, I don't have a problem with that. Don't get me wrong before anyone starts in on me. What I do have a problem with is where I happen to live, and I'm not saying that's everywhere. So please understand that, whoever's going to jump down my throat. But it's fairly obvious, the Section 8 people, only where I am, I only can speak for where I live and see this every day for 5 years. And I'm not saying they don't work. I don't know what they do, but I do know they make a lot of noise. I know they disrupt things. I know I could spot them a mile away. I know that I don't understand it. We all need to live together, and I don't have a problem with anybody. I do have a problem with somebody disturbing my peace and not obeying noise ordinances and whatever have you. And in my situation, that is only Section 8 people, nobody else.
So,
It-
we'll come back.
Yeah.
So
That gentleman has been patiently waiting. And then I saw you had your hand up too. Is that right? Yeah, okay. And then I know that was your sorry.
Hi, good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. I think I'm about to hold it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Earl Kirtner. I live at 17 Golf Court. I'm a neighbor on the east. Nice to meet you. First of all, I'm very happy that there's not going to be a restaurant. I don't need to get into the history of, we've heard about Regina, even the current restaurant. A quick story. I go to work and on my front porch, I have like a little table, couple of metal chairs. And what's on the table? A plate of chicken bones and a glass that was a drink that somebody decided at 1 in the morning they want to have a seat on my porch and finish their appetizers. So I'm not going to list that. Obviously, Tony, the 5-story would be the best option for me, who's your next door neighbor. Because like you said, the setback is is the same. I don't have a problem. I don't think, again, for example, this Friday evening, all the cars on the street, it was very hard just to get in my driveway. I had my family over for dinner Friday night. It was very hard with all the cars parked on the street. So this is definitely, the 5-story is definitely a way to go. And in Teaneck and in the environment now, the apartments will be pricey, so I don't think we have to worry about issues as far as neighbors. What else did I want to say? To any town officials. So once construction starts, I would like to have the no parking Wednesday evening to Sunday evening gone, because that was instituted because of Regina's 100 years ago.
So that's
So
actually,
I've I've been there over 30 years. I know I've gotten more than a handful of parking tickets because I forgot to move my car at 9:30 at night. So
as I'm
hopefully
sitting-
that you'll do
yeah,
that.
so as I'm sitting here, and this is actually, everything you said, to be honest with you, is the purpose of this meeting, is to hear that, because we would never, I mean, that's some very good insight. And you said it was Wednesdays through Sundays, 7th, what were the hours?
Oh, so the signs are 9
9 PM.
9
Yeah.
9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like
Okay,
9
that
or
was
9:30.
instituted at the request of the neighbors, so we would just
Yes,
ask for a
yes,
form, you know the
yes,
process.
yes,
You sign it, it's gone. That's on you. So then when your neighbors call me when they can't, why they, and I just point them to you. So yes. You'll give me a signed letter signed by the neighbors, and I think it's 51% of the block, so that
Has
should,
to, that's what
and
has
then
to
we,
get
will
done?
give us 2
Okay.
meetings and it's gone.
All right. So once the restaurants
Yeah.
go, once building starts, I'll see
Yeah,
you. Thank you so
sure.
much.
Okay. Oh, she was first. Okay. I got you. Don't worry.
Thank you so much. Just a couple of questions. First, I'm dealing with a cold, not a flu, it's a cold. First of all, based on our experience with the owner, don't know you personally, I can say it has been a horrible experience. It has been a horrible experience to the point that people are parking in the driveways at the club. They can't even get in the door, and they're still letting people try to fix their way in the door. So you can only judge what's going to be in front of you by what's been behind you. So I would be very cautious to anyone jumping on the bandwagon with this renovation, because we're not going to get a different owner. We're going to get the same owner. And my fear in that is we could look up 4 years from now or 2 years from now, and it's a shelter. Okay, as simple as that, because it's all about the dollar in this deal from what's going on, that you can't even get people in the door and you're still allowing them. We had the bank manager coming out every morning after the parties, cleaning up the parking lot, getting bones and food out. I'm pouring water to vomit in the driveway. I mean, all of this stuff. And the only thing the bank manager asked, don't park before 6 o'clock. And there was a little
11 by something paper put on their window saying, don't park there. Meanwhile, everyone parked there till he had to hire a tow company. So I say, look at the nature of what you're dealing with. That doesn't change. Then I would like to ask the architect, can you speak a little bit to the size of the apartments that would be in the 5-story?
So the apartments would be about the same, no matter which version of this plan we went with.
Okay.
One bedroom would be about 750 to 800 square feet. And a two-bedroom would be about 1,100 square feet.
So the largest unit you're saying would be a 2-bedroom?
Well, because of this discussion this evening, we've talked about affordable housing. We would be required to have one 3-bedroom unit. That would be an affordable unit, and that would be a little bit bigger, maybe about 1,275 square feet.
Architect, and you've been doing some renderings. You're saying you're required to have one 3-bedroom. So are you believing in your mind, are you thinking through your plans that that's probably what it would be in terms of 3 bedrooms, just one 3-bedroom on that spot? Right, I understand that. That's a requirement, the 1-bedroom. But as an architect, I'm sure you can design 3-bedrooms or 4 3-bedrooms.
I
So
don't-
that's my question
I
to you.
don't contemplate, it's possible, but I don't contemplate a second 3-bedroom unit.
Okay, and also to the architect, elaborate a little bit on what you said about the 5-floor possibly being trimmed down, so it's not a true 5-story, something with the roof.
So I had shown a rendering of the building, and it depicted a 5-story building where 4 floors were the same size, and then the 5th floor would employ what we call a mansard roof. So instead of the walls being vertical on the 5th floor, they would slope inward and create a roof. And that will reduce the effective visual height of the building. It's an aesthetic trick. It's employed all over. I believe there are examples in Teaneck, certainly in Englewood, and it's very common
Okay.
aesthetic element.
And I'm not sure if it was the attorney, but whoever said, no, I think it was the architect said, in all of your term, you've never seen something. Well, if you've been looking at anything, 2025 is a whole new world. So there's always possibilities of what these concerns are we're sharing happening. So just want to stay
So I
mindful and
addressed-
cognizant of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I addressed one thing.
Right. It
In
was,
my experience, I'd never seen a residential building create more traffic than a commercial use.
and I'm just saying that we're in
40 years.
times now that never doesn't even apply anymore. So that was the only thing I had that I wanted to get out there. But I also wanted to just kind of comment on the parking, because I know that we fought on court, and they fought because people were parking in driveways and so forth from this club. If you put an apartment building there that you're going to have visitors, if you change the ordinance, and this is more to the mayor and your team I voted for, so I'm going to stick my 2 cents here, is that I don't think you're going to find that the people want that parking change on that street, because where else are there residents and so forth going to park? So that's something, as you said, you come with the paper, the block will certainly look at it, but I would certainly be concerned that someone shows up and tries to change something 2 or 3 weeks, months down the line, and that's an ultimate fear of everyone I've talked to on the
Understood.
block.
So that's why it's going to be a paper. It's going to be majority written. It's democracy. And you have some of your neighbors here, so perhaps
Right.
have them get their conversation. You'll go to door and see how it goes. And these changes could be made before, after, during, and back.
one of the people who lives in that area, that struck me as being, you are not important. What works for the people who live in that area is completely irrelevant. And I'm going to be honest, like, it sounds all well and good right now. Oh, so first of all, I know I came late. I'm not quite sure how the 8 tandem parking spaces are going to accommodate 25 units.
No, look-
Back to the beginning where nobody said this only impacts this one. I'm not sure who in the public
yeah, I think,
may have said that, but it didn't come.
yeah, I think maybe just the context of it, you just,
So-
Like a tangent to start with.
Yeah, and let me just chime in on that too, because we didn't really talk about process, but here you have a property owner with a business that's maybe not the highest and best use. He wants to think about doing something different to redevelop that property. He comes to the town, meets informally with the zoning subcommittee. The subcommittee reviews these same concept plans, and they think, well, we don't know what's better, the 3-story version or the 5-story version. How about we schedule a community meeting to give the neighborhood an opportunity to comment on this, to give us input, to give us feedback. So that's what we're doing this evening, because it is so important that the members of the subcommittee, mayor and the deputy mayors who are here, wanted this direct input from the neighborhood because it is important. So that's what we're doing here tonight. This is not required. This is an extra voluntary step that the property owner agreed to go along with when it was suggested by the town subcommittee.
yeah, so I don't think you heard everything, so let me just take a step back. We initially were proposing 27 units, 27 in the 5-story version, right? 27 units with 32 parking spaces. What Mr. Roncati was saying is that after he further analyzed it, he could add another 8. So you would have 40 spaces for 27 units.
So I did miss that.
Yes, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
I don't really have my thoughts quite formalized or verbalized. I'm finding myself very suspicious. I really am.
Okay.
So what you missed also was we presented 2 ideas, 2 directions. One was a 4-story building that spread out over the site, and the other was the building that's on the screen in massing form, which is 1 story taller, but far smaller and shoved all the way to the corner of Gulf and Teaneck Road. And tonight we wanted to hear from the larger community, the local neighborhood, which option they felt was best, so that we can then guide that into which one we're coming here.
Is an apartment building fait complete?
No, the town would have to adopt an ordinance. We'd have to get approvals. This is just a very preliminary stage.
Okay.
Okay. I know this man's been waiting patiently. So sorry about that.
I'm Peter Aljan, 43 East Cedar Lane in Teaneck here. My question is concerning the traffic flow. Now, I understand what you're saying, that it's less traffic flow coming from an apartment than a
Yeah.
commercial. However, that turn on Teaneck Road, how are people going to get out on the Teaneck Road? They're going to make a left-hand turn.
Right.
All right, let me just finish. All right,
Go
so,
ahead.
and also, I've been here 46 years. Do all the developing in the area.
Yeah.
There's a marked increase in traffic on Teaneck Road. I mean, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Cedar Lane is backed up now because of Route 4. And what's going to happen now is all the people that live on Golf Court, people coming out of the apartment complex, are not going to be able to go. They're going to have a problem getting on the Teaneck Road. So they're going to be coming in the back area. As it is now, whatever that street is, the next main street behind, people are cutting through. Thank you. All right, yeah. They cut through there because they're trying to get away from all the traffic. So now you're building this complex. There's no way that these people are going to be able to make a safe left-hand turn on the Teaneck Road.
Okay, so
either you can
finish. So here's what I would say to what you just indicated. All valid points. on the, what they call trip generation first, which is just the amount of traffic. Like we were saying earlier, we'll provide an analysis, but I could assure you that what we're proposing here generates far less traffic than what could be put here permitted. Let me just finish. The left turn that you're talking about, the county of Bergen runs that road, not the township of
You see,
Teaneck.
we live there,
No,
all
no,
right?
no, what I'm saying is they will determine, we have to make it, if this goes forward, we have to make an application to the county. They'll make a determination whether a left is allowed out of that driveway.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the people that live on Golf Court, I live on East
Yeah.
Cedar Lane, but the people who live on Golf Court, they're gonna have a lot more traffic because people going to and from that apartment complex are gonna use their street.
Okay.
Because then they have to get, they don't want to have to contend with Teaneck Road.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying, that it's gonna affect everybody that lives behind the complex, the streets behind it, so.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this, I think he was here. Yeah, I'll get you next, I promise.
Hi, I'm Michael Rockland. I own the house at 54 Golf Court. Unfortunately, we haven't moved in yet, but we will soon. And if you're my neighbor, hi, everybody. I'm also known in Teaneck as the guy who gets up in this very spot and crows about pedestrian safety. And me and the manager were in a meeting. I think she left. Me and the manager were in a meeting the other week about pedestrian safety on Cedar Lane, on Teaneck Road, in this very spot. Almost every morning, I drive my car to Golf Court. I park in my driveway on Golf Court, and I scamper very quickly and dangerously across Teaneck Road. None of those are your problem. What is potentially a problem here is the left turn onto Golf Court, and in general, cars in Country Club.
Just
The left turn, sorry, from the parking lot left into Golf Court. So as you may or may not know, the only turn onto Golf Court right there from Teaneck Road that is legal is the right turn coming north onto
right.
whatever that direction. And making a left turn is like explicitly illegal. There's lots of signs there. And what that means in practice is that there are relatively few cars making the turn onto Golf Court currently. Part of the reason for that is that if you are coming from points south, you can just make a turn onto East Cedar Lane if you want to go in that direction. And otherwise, you can make it on Bennett, which is, I think, what most of us do if we're going in that direction. I think my ask for the town, because the town does own Golf Court, is that as this plan moves ahead, we consider the impact to the Country Club area in general. That's what we generally call this area, because that is one of the last areas in Teaneck that does not really have sidewalks in particular. So the sidewalks end right where, I mean, you can see it on the map a little bit, but pushing it up there. So I just want to put that on your guys' radar in terms of as you think about where to put some of the exits and stuff like that, and put it on the town radar as well. Yep.
We don't intend on changing the ingress egress point.
Yep.
And heading north on Teaneck Road does not require a right turn onto Golf.
Yep.
You can pull right into the driveway ingress point right on Teaneck
Yep.
Road. You're not going onto Golf to get into the parking lot. You're pulling in exactly as you see on this thing.
Awesome.
But good points.
Cool. The other one that I wanted to, I was curious if you can go back to the massing slide. I don't know who's controlling the slide.
Sure, which one?
The rendering, the original white rendering.
Oh, that had
with
the
yeah.
mansard roof? Okay.
That's in the other.
Yeah, it's in the other one.
This one?
Yeah, that one right there. Cool. So there are two things on this one. Number one, I want to say this building looks, in my opinion, really, really good. The one on the right, the one on the left scares me a lot. Yeah, the one on the right looked really good. I really appreciate the mansard roof and all that pieces. I'm hoping that you're gonna keep the landscaping here. The other thing on this corner is this is a very wide sweeped out corner. Again, not the kind of thing that's like you're under your control, but to the extent that you can work
Well,
with the.
What would have to
county and stuff.
happen
Yeah.
if the project goes along, the building will have to be outside the site triangle.
Yep.
So we're gonna have to have a surveyor look at that with Conrad and the placement of the building.
Yep.
Just to make sure that there's no issue there. Obviously, this is conceptual,
Yep.
but that would be required not only by the township, but by the county also.
Cool.
But there's an opportunity to reduce sidewalk width and introduce more landscaping, even if it's in the public right of way.
Yep.
That would be a part of our purview of our site plan
Cool.
engineering.
Got it. Yeah, I would hope we could expand this sidewalk potentially and also do the landscaping. That would probably
Yeah,
require.
we would
negotiating with
also,
the town.
the town's planning board requires that you do a landscape plan.
Cool.
So
Awesome.
I would also assume the gentleman who lives directly to the east would want us to plant along that buffer also.
Yep.
So, yeah, and probably, and look at fencing and things of that nature too.
Awesome, cool. The other piece is there's a lot of bus traffic in front of the bank, like across the street there. Hopefully that means that the people living in the building will take the bus more. But it could be nice to incorporate some of that bus stop piece into the plan or like shift it a block if people are
Yeah,
literally there.
moving a bus stop requires I'm sure you know, requires NJ Transit
Yep.
approval. But that's another reason though why we thought the parking ratio made sense because of the accessibility to public transit in that area.
Awesome, cool. And are these going to be posted online?
Oh, I don't know what the
Sorry, so I repeat that.
Are these going to be posted online?
The
presentation.
is going to be posted online.
Awesome,
The
cool.
recording of this meeting as well.
Hello, camera, wherever you are. Awesome, thank you. I look forward to working with you on, or like hearing more about as this moves forward. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other in general, and also want to thank the town leadership and you guys, because I know that this is not required. So thank you, and learning a lot.
I think that gentleman in the back had a question, or that young lady in the back had a question. Sorry, okay. So you're in charge, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having this, especially since it wasn't mandatory. I appreciate you taking the time to include us. My name is Arlene Paul, and I live at 58 Bennett Road.
Okay.
And my concerns are partially about the structure itself. I get from listening to everyone that a restaurant is not exactly the way to go because of the late nights and so forth. I'm farther in the block, so I don't really hear that or have to deal with it. But a few things. First, regarding the building, did you ever consider a 4-story of the other rendering as opposed to a 5-story to keep it lower to the ground and yet on a smaller scale?
The building with the bigger footprint is 4-story.
The reddish looking building I saw?
Yes.
I think what she's asking is, could you do the 5-story footprint and the 4-story?
Yeah,
No.
it's not possible, or?
We have the 4-story scheme, which is 3 floors of residential over the parking that was 39 units. And I'm advocating to my client that we reduce that significantly to 27 units, but make a smaller footprint, because I think that's better planning solution and a better use of the property. Even though it's 12 less units, it's a smaller footprint, and it preserves the light and the air and the buffering that the neighbor could currently enjoy.
And this is a 5-story structure.
Right, with a very small footprint. So instead of being a bigger building and lower, I'm suggesting, and I've advocated to my client,
A smaller building and taller.
smaller
So
footprint,
can't you
just
make taller
one
and
story.
shorter, is what I'm asking.
Well, we don't yield enough units, so it puts us back to the bigger building spread out at 4 stories.
Okay, so those are your options. Either you go wide and short or tall and skinny. Okay, I can move on from that.
Yeah, one of the things Conrad was that top story, he was looking to do that mansard roof to just further set it back from the residential.
Right. So in the rendering, which is on the right side here, you see there's 4 floors, and then that top floor, that gray, that dark gray, that's actually the 5th floor of the building, but the walls are canted, sloped in, so it creates a building that doesn't seem as tall.
That's just visual.
There's still 5 floors.
I know.
But that 5th floor is smaller.
I know.
So it's step back.
I know,
Yeah.
I understand. We can talk later. You're not comprehending what I'm saying, or what I'm saying is not an option, and I can move on. Regarding the fact that it's residential, my concern as someone who takes the bus on Teaneck Road is a few things. First, it's very dangerous trying to cross Teaneck Road as it is on that curve because people come speeding from the Route 4 area. I'm not a northwest or north or east, west, north, or south person. They're coming from Route 4, they're heading to the turnpike, and they fly around that turn. And no matter how fast they go, they can't make the light at Teaneck Road and Cedar Lane. And then we're trying to cross as residents to get to the bus stop. My thing is, since the whole New York increase,
Congestion
if
pricing.
you, yeah, thank you. There are much more people taking the buses, yay for New Jersey Transit. But as residents, we are now forced with fewer buses, more people, and it's difficult to get into the office no matter how early you leave. Like I'll have to leave at 6 o'clock to get to the office for 9 o'clock and still wait 45 minutes to an hour for a bus. So is the town looking to communicate any of this with New Jersey Transit so they can add more buses to the route?
Tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m., Council Deputy Mayor Organ will be meeting with the Bergen County League of Mayors and the New Jersey Transit, and that is on the agenda, specifically as it relates to congestion pricing. First of all, thank everyone who is not on the street. I commute to Brooklyn, and the roads have been empty because more and more people are taking the bus. I don't have that option going to Ocean Parkway, so it's been great for everyone. My children do take the bus, and yes, they've noticed it's a big uptick. That's tomorrow morning's agenda. As it relates to the speeding, we've actually had, and I thought you would mention this, some bad accidents along those routes, some cars into poles. You probably recall those. And the only thing we can do is urge people to please cross at the light, at the crosswalk. It's very hard because you kind of make the run for it because why do I got to go there? Just go straight. But yeah, so remind me, Mrs. Manager, we start our enforcement project coming up next week also. Yes, we're going to ticket people till they bleed and we're going to really stepping up our traffic enforcement because it's been out of control. Really since COVID, when it became hands off, don't give out tickets. And we've seen a remarkable uptick in the amount of accidents and the amount of speeding, everything across the board. So yeah, so everything, you're spot on across the board and we're on top of each one of those.
Yeah, because the shortcut, when they can't make the light, they make a quick left on Bennett and they fly up my block.
Yep.
And they come around that turn, and especially at nights and wintertime, I've almost been ran over like 3 times.
Absolutely. So we're taking those notes, but yes, we're hearing this sadly on every single street in Teaneck right now. So we're coming for them.
Okay.
We're coming for
So
them.
the other thing with
And be
regarding
careful because we're going to give you a ticket also if we see you do it.
if I do what?
If you speed.
I don't have to speed. I'm only walking to Teaneck Road.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
That's the problem for people like me who walk. All right. The other thing is that, oh, my day's not going so good. The other thing is that there are 2 entrances currently to where the restaurant is. One, you're heading to the Route 4 area on Teaneck Road, and you can make a right into the parking lot. And I assume that residents are going to be looking to come out there and make a left or a right and make a left across the 2 yellow lines, which is illegal.
You mentioned this a minute ago, not to cut you off, but the county controls traffic movement to and from the site. And they would make a decision as to whether that left turn you're talking about is safe or not. It's not something we decide, you decide, the mayor decides. That's in the jurisdiction of the county.
Well, can't you make the decision by not having an exit there?
Well, that would keep people from turning in.
Yes, they can turn into golf court and then make a left into
But
the
we
parking
also
lot.
would like people to go out, turn right and head towards Route 4.
Yeah, they can come back out the same way they go in.
The goal is honestly to make sure that you can spread out the cars. There's not going to be a lot because it's, like I said, it's only 27 units. But the goal would be to have people be able to make a right, go onto Route 4, or if they need to leave on Gulf Court, go west towards Hackensack on Cedar Lane, or head left towards the Turnpike. They can go out those. So they have 2 options basically to do that. But the county will dictate that.
Okay. After this meeting,
Yes.
is there going to be another community meeting?
That'll be up to the I guess the mayor and council if they want to do that. And the next step would be.
And I'll jump right in. Whether or not there'll be another community meeting, there'll be at least 5 to 8 public meetings, each having input just like this. This format that we're doing takes place at every council meeting, every planning board meeting, of which this will be before. So whether or not there'll be another neighbor meeting, you'll have that many more opportunities to discuss it just like this. I know we haven't seen you at a council meeting yet, but we'll see you in the future, but you'll have more time.
But what we're trying to do from this meeting, you've had some good comments, other people have had some good comments. We'll try to have answers, and then when we take the next step, for example, what you're talking about, the left turn, another person talked about the left turn. We'll go to the county with the site plan, see if they have any comments, and then we can report back and say, well, the county said X or said Y or whatever it might be.
That
And
would
then
be
at- and then-
helpful.
And then at least we'll have those answers for you. But we just wanted to go through this very preliminary phase, hear what the input was first, and then be able to go to the next step in the process.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
No, thank you. Mr. Yacht, I know, let me just get the people that didn't go first and then. Yeah, no problem. We're not going anywhere.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Yucht. I live here in town. I don't live in this neighborhood, so why am I here at this meeting?
You like to follow me to the meetings.
That's exactly right. That's exactly the two of you. So well, I have a question, and then I would just want to just make a few comments. Is there a pilot involved in this
No.
development? No pilot. Okay. For those of you who don't know, a pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes where a builder is afforded a reduction in their taxes for up to 30 years, but that's only in areas in need of redevelopment.
Correct,
Is that
that's right.
correct? Okay, so this is not one of those. So I just want to say, I've been in your spot talking to the community. I live on Bell Avenue, and we're facing about 100 units potentially right down the block from where I live, and another couple hundred on the other side by the Stop and Shop. For those of you, whether you don't know about this is the first time you find that out. There's a lot of development that's going to happen here in this town. So and all of these suggestions that you're making and the comments you're making tonight are good. I'm concerned about the traffic on Teaneck Road myself. I've been there many times, couldn't make a left turn coming out of the store. So just keep your voices heard and work with the developer to make this what you can live with. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
No, thank you. I'm trying to see who.
Talk to me.
All right, I believe you did. Did you go before her? I don't remember. No, you both have went. That's why. Okay, thank you for being so good. So go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you for being polite about it.
So again, I'm going to go back to the parking because you can do all the parking studies that you all want. You're not living here. So your studies are not necessarily going to reflect what the actual event will be, okay? I live on East Cedar Lane. Other people were talking about the fact that there are parking regulations on the streets. I can speak to that because I did it. I was the ringleader on East Cedar Lane because for many years, we had cars lined up from the bottom of the street all the way past Country Club for people who don't live in this area, from Closter, from other towns, parking on my street to get on the bus because it was convenient. We didn't get our leaves picked up. We didn't get our garbage picked up. We didn't get our snow plowed until we put these parking rules into effect, okay? So on my street between 10 and 2, Monday through Friday, can't park there. And I guarantee you there aren't going to be enough parking spaces for this apartment building. There are going to be 2 cars for every apartment. There are going to be guests. There are going to be visitors, and they're going to be parking on my street. And the police department is going to get called every single time, every single time. My second question is, are we ever going to see what the buildings look like? Because as I mentioned, lived here for 46 years, watching these apartment buildings going up, they are not attractive at all. And I would like to know if we are going to have the ability to see what they look like. That's what it's going to look like? The one on the left?
There seems to be somewhat of a consensus a lot of comments on things that have nothing to do with the design or the choice that we came here to talk about tonight, which is fun. But there seems to be a general consensus that the taller building with a much smaller footprint, more preferable. So I think that's.
Well, none of them are preferable to me. None of them.
So, yes, that is very close. That is very close to what we are proposing. And,
This one on the right.
and as I'm sure you're familiar with the process, we're coming back with site engineering plans, architectural, floor plans, elevations, more renderings when we
Right,
get
that's
to
my
the
question.
formal-
Am I going to be able to see that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is, it's not even been designed yet. This is how preliminary this is. So I appreciate that. I'm going to go to your first question. I've been, it's my 13th year on council, and prior to that, 6 years on planning board. Pretty much every new building in 20 years that's been in Teaneck, you can yell at me for. And I gladly give you these addresses of the buildings such as 1500 Teaneck Road, 1425 Palisade Avenue. And if you go there, you will see the significant amount of empty spots that exist. Hence, we did the study. It was not a study by a developer. It was not a study by any biased party. It was an independent study that we paid for just to confirm my visual. And they've confirmed that it's 1.17 spots per apartment. Now, I've tried to get Jason and his customers to go that low, but he's always like, no, we want to go higher for guests.
1.74 spots mean?
That means for every apartment, there's 1.17 spots that are taken up. But
Does that mean 2 spots per apartment?
no, it's less than 2 spots per
Less
apartment.
than 2 spots?
But what I urge you to do is what I urge you to do is go by these buildings, take a look at the parking spots. You'll get familiar and you realize new development brings in less parking because they're on bus lines. That's why people want to live there on bus lines. So please take a look at the buildings. I can look at my son's building. He only has 1 car for 2 people. That's what they do. But don't trust me. Take a look at the buildings. I'll put up my email. I'll gladly meet you at any of the buildings. We can look at it and see what the parking
I'm not
lots are
worried
looking
about
like.
the other buildings. I'm worried about the building that's in my neighborhood.
I totally understand.
Okay.
And in
It's
that,
a residential neighborhood. We have lovely, lovely homes.
I understand.
Okay. We'd like to keep it that way. Thank you.
I understand. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, just a couple things. One, I was really happy to hear that the town is going to meet with New Jersey Transit. From my experience with New Jersey Transit, it's probably a little less ridership than it was pre-COVID, right? Pre-COVID, but just a suggestion. It used to be that the 165R stopped on Teaneck on Teaneck Road and doesn't anymore, and that increased the ridership a lot, right? And then it's dangerous, right? You'll have like 70 people hanging on, like 20 people hanging on the bus. And meanwhile, you'll have like 4 177Xs fly by half full. You'll have, and 165Rs also fly by half full. So maybe that's the thing you can look at. Now, with respect to this building, you have to understand that you're essentially saying you're going to give us 50 new neighbors that we didn't ask for, right? So essentially, we bought our homes to live in a residential neighborhood, which you're now trying to change. So you're going to get some opposition to that, of which I'm a part, right? The other thing I would say is I would ask the council in particular to really look at this, because the owner is not trusted, because the owner has been a horrible neighbor. My children would wake up in the middle of the night scared about what's going on right next door, right? So this is not a thing that should just be signed off on. You have to consider the person proposing. And we all have horror stories about what's going on this property. We've all called the police several times. So when the same owner comes forward and says, hey, I have a great plan that's good for Teaneck, none of the neighbors believe it. It's almost a joke.
So can I just respond to that?
Sure.
I don't think it's necessarily relevant to the design of the building or the parking or the issues that we're going to talk about. But I think we're doing exactly what you want. The owner purchased the property recently, hasn't owned the property for a decade, where you're talking about maybe the issues that have transpired. And I'm not downplaying the issues at all. I feel, I feel for you that you have to deal with, nuisance related issues, right? But the owner purchased it about a year ago, evaluated the property, has basically said, look, this isn't working. Clearly it's not. And this would be a better solution. And the other person, I think, there was a woman that came up earlier, and we all agreed, he should reach out to the operator of the restaurant as this is going on to try to get that person to, not make sure things aren't as impactful. But the owner who just bought it is looking to clean up the site. That's what they're looking to do. This is not somebody who's owned the site for 20 years and has just let the property, fall into disrepair. It's somebody who just purchased it, evaluated it, and said, let's make this better. So I hear you on your concerns, and I'm not downplaying them, but I'm also just, it seems like we're doing what you're hoping, which is cleaning up the site.
To an extent, you're giving me 50 new neighbors who I don't know who they are, right? So that is problematic for me, right?
Listen,
Like if somebody bought my neighbor's house, I would be like, well, who's this moving next door,
it's all
right? But
preference.
now next door is no, that's not preference. That's who doesn't prefer that. If you have a new neighbor who moves in next door, right? Everybody thinks the same thing. Oh, who's his family? They're gonna be nice to me, etc. You're giving us 50 at once.
Can I respond to that again?
Sure.
So you're saying that you might get 50, because if you have 27 units, 2 people in some, one in another, maybe 3 in another. Okay, so let's average it out to 50 people that are gonna live here, know the site, know the area, have a daily routine, work in Teaneck, work in the area, et cetera, as opposed to a restaurant, some type of retail establishment where you'll get hundreds of different people throughout the week coming in and out of the property that don't know the site, that aren't necessarily from the area, that, don't care as much about it because they can just come and go, which is what you're experiencing now. And you're getting 50 new people, but you're also getting 50 new people that live in the area and that are gonna, I'm not saying each one would be perfect, but my point is, it seems like it's a better situation than what you have now.
I mean, I doubt that, right? Well, it might be, but there's a difference in permanency, right? So when somebody goes to a restaurant, right, they may be in and out, but they're in a restaurant for about an hour, right? We're talking about people who are going to live in this neighborhood that looks a very certain way. These people purchase their homes with the neighborhood looking a certain way. And now this is going to transform that. And who knows what's going to do to property values? Who knows who's moving in that? Who knows who's moving in the place?
If you don't like multifamily buildings, there's nothing I can say. If you don't, I'm just giving you I'm just saying your argument's not perfect. Maybe mine's not perfect either, but if your preference is, hey, I just don't want a multifamily building there, that's your opinion. That's your opinion.
Right.
That's
right,
fine.
Right. Right. Nobody who lives here does. And what I'm saying is I'm going to the council saying, look, you guys are the ones who are going to approve or not approve this. And we got to put our trust in the people that were elected, right, to do what they feel is the right thing. And I'm saying with this property in particular, with the history, with the traffic problems on there, for example, you can't turn left and they're not going to allow it. The county or whoever runs this is not going to allow a left turn there, right? Because that would be very dangerous. So these people are going to be coming off of Route 4, going home this way. They're not going to be able to turn into the building. A lot of them are going to turn anyway. But regardless, with all the issues that are it's going to happen, with all the issues that are here, I'm asking the council to really look at this, right? This is not just, oh, we're just going to build like everywhere else. This place in this neighborhood with this owner has been a problem. Now, are the owners of the LLCs related? I assume that it was an arm's length transaction. That's great. But I also assume that the new owner kind of had this in mind when he did it, because if he bought the property a year ago, it takes time to do this, right? It takes time to hire architects, get renderings, blah, blah, blah. So he had to have in mind at least a little bit that he was going to do this when he purchased it. So I'm concerned about that.
Why?
Right? Because I don't want necessarily 50 new neighbors on my corner, right? And I want to make sure that the council is going to represent the people who elected them. Now, you may come out and say this is the best use, and that's fine, right? But what I'm saying is really look at it. Don't just check a box, because it impacts my life. It impacts my children's life. It impacts everybody who lives around there, impacts our lives.
No, first of all, everything you said loud and clear, 100%. We're still going to be talking about this probably for at least a year.
At least 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months at least. We've been, that's why we're here. By the way, is the seller in jail? I think the seller of the property is, I believe the seller of the property went to jail. I believe.
Not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, we heard everything you said. You will be having many more public meetings. You're more than welcome to come out. Doug, can you put up I don't know if you can type on that. Can you put up our email address, our council email address, if you don't mind? I mean, yeah, so I'll give you my card as well and stay in touch. This is the first of multiple meetings, so you're not going to wake up tomorrow morning. The bulldozers will not be there. Chicken bones may be there tomorrow, but that's not on me. But the
Right.
bulldozers will not be there.
Thank you.
And one other thing, this is a healthy debate. I take note,
Mhm.
obviously what you're saying. You also, that left turn that you're concerned about, that you can do right
Right.
now.
No, you can't. You can't do it. No, the left onto golf course. You can't make a left there.
Yeah.
No, you can't. You can't make a left in the restaurant.
My,
can't
my,
do it,
my,
you
my,
can't do it.
my point to you in saying that is a new project, if you're correct about the left turn,
Mhm.
the county would restrict it and make you do certain things. If you're right about it, I don't know what the
Yeah.
county's going to say. My point is, if you just reoccupy the building the way it is, you just keep the situation status quo. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have another meeting.
I don't think this young lady spoke yet, so. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shayna Brander. I live at 811 Country Club Drive, so in this neighborhood. Thank you for having this session tonight, for hearing us out. I just have a comment about, similar to the concerns that were raised on the traffic along Teaneck Road. I have mentioned this on the good and welfare sections, and I've been emailing the town manager about this as well. So I'm just kind of using this as a forum to bring up an issue that I've spoken about a lot because I think it is relevant. Going north-south, there's Teaneck Road, and then if you continue going east, there's really nothing until like Grand Avenue, except for my block. So what that means is there is such a high volume going on my block on like a relatively narrow residential street because there's no other good options. I'm not saying that this should impact the plans for this particular property. I really appreciate everyone's efforts to try to use for the best space possible, like you, and that's fine. But I do think that there needs to be a more comprehensive solution for the north-south traffic because Teaneck Road is horrible. And then everybody goes on my block to circumvent that when they're going from Route 4 to the Turnpike. And that's just not safe. Like I can't even pull out of my driveway some days because it's just so busy. So if that could kind of be dedicated some more resources to look at this. Like, I think there needs to be some better like urban planning, specifically for the country club neighborhood, not just to support this, but really to support everything that's happening, all the growth in the area more broadly.
Yeah, thank you. And by the way, that got worse on your block because we put up we put the speed bumps on Greenwood, on Columbus, everyone started shifting. I'm not going to go to that. And that was due to the ways taking you from the Turnpike through your neighborhood right to Route 4 East. So we not recently, probably before you got there, we added a stop sign, I believe, at East Lawn, that we did some
Yeah,
work
and
there.
that's great.
But we do need more. If we were to put more rumble strips or something in your block to make them slow down, obviously that's the biggest issue because they're speeding and your kids are on the street and there are no sidewalks on Country Club either. So
Yeah.
yes, we talked about doing enforcement before you got here. Our enforcement program starts. I've been in a few weeks. Unfortunately, it should start in a few weeks and last forever, and that's something we'll have to keep on trying to connect those dots. So absolutely,
Yeah.
thank you. We've gotten your emails and we've seen you online as well.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, last question. We want to wrap it up. Okay.
Me? I'm going to attempt it because I don't think it'll be that long. Okay, so I'm back up here again because I'm really not satisfied in some of the responses that I received, and maybe you can clear that up. One of them was again about the traffic, and I know you'll show studies and whatever have you. What I wasn't able to express that I wanted to is, being that I live in an area with co-ops, which are nothing more than apartments. They're 3 levels, garden apartments. I'm by the circle there. There's one circle where I live. But even if I didn't live right near it, forget about the traffic and stuff just from residents. On any given day, at pretty much similar times, there are UPS trucks, FedEx trucks. There were 2 others that regular mail, and there's one more. I've seen 4 of them at a clip. over there delivering packages and whatnot. There's noise from the trucks, whatever. Also, because I live where there's more tenants, but still 20 something units or so. Then there's ambulances that come where I live. They're every night, at least 4 nights a week, somewhere between 2 and 4 in the morning. And you hear the ambulances and the fire trucks go on that hour. So it's not just cars and residents. I'm talking commercial is there as well, deliveries. Police come, I would say, almost every day. Sometimes, and usually, I would say more so when the average person that doesn't have a night job is sleeping. And then generally you're woken up. They try to be quiet, the alarms aren't on, but you hear the motors and the engines and whatever, all hours of the night, almost every night. I'm there 5 years. At least 4 nights out of the week on any given week. Probably more, but I would say that is an average that I would feel comfortable with. So there's, and not only that, but now you have Teaneck police who are grossly overworked, having to come out as well. Anytime an ambulance comes or a fire truck, there they are. Anytime there's a problem, domestic or whatever have you, there they are. They're where I live all the time. They don't have enough on the force as it is. There have been problems and there's no officer to come, like the community officer, because he's doing the job with 8 officers. Now, when you see where I'm going with this.
So let me interrupt you. I am right now. I'm actually going to refute everything you said. I know where you live. I live there myself. Right now, we've got a club that's draining a lot more resources that has deliveries every single day. So I think you're getting up here and actually saying this is 27 units from what you're referring to, from emergency service, from police, from fights, from deliveries in midnight hours. 27 units is a far better approach than a club like this. So, I mean, I think that's
What do you mean a club like this?
The current situation is there's a club right now. So this is, remember, I'm not sure, I mean, you don't live near here, so I'm not sure
I'm not that far away. I drive by almost every day.
Right. What they're referring to is both the Saints Cafe, Regina's, and now there's a new name, and I forget the new name that, yes, it's right. It's, it may open. It's a very intense use from a police emergency fire delivery, and this 27 units will be far better. But we're going to look at the studies. The studies will be made public and it'll be open to everyone as we go through the months upon months. I still think a year review of it. So
Mayor, I'm not disputing that. I'm not saying there should be a club there or a restaurant.
But there is.
There is, but right now, obviously the developer
shutting them down. So
is going a different route. So now we have the one extreme with this restaurant that's unacceptable, or whatever's been there unacceptable, or the other extreme is now housing, which I know would be more profitable. I've been in real estate. I know real estate very well. I get it. I get it as if I was a developer. I get it, but I'm not, and I am a resident. So I can understand the value of something like this. It's mega bucks. It's not even, you can't even compare it to the income of something like this. However, again, it's the impact of the community. And I would like to see if anybody here in this room right now thinks that a housing situation such as this is even acceptable, if they're for it. If they could raise their hand, if they're even for this.
We've actually heard from quite a bit of people. So we've heard a few people, a few of your neighbors.
One person and probably the developer.
But we heard your comments. Let's end the night with Ms. Rogovin.
And one quick question though.
Yes.
And we can pursue this after the meeting or whatever. Why did you shut me down when I mentioned Section 8? Because of the affordable housing, I'm confused that if it can be or not.
I'm going to leave it like this. Affordable housing is a mandate. I'm not going to discuss the pros and cons of what they bring because the law says they come. Fact. End of conversation. Whether or not you said you see them a mile away or 5 feet away. I'm not going to say if that's your opinion. I can say it's disrespectful or not. That's my opinion.
It's what I've experienced.
That's great. The law says affordable housing is required. And our deputy mayor in the room has actually spoken with the developer and had them increase the amount of affordable housing.
I heard that.
And that will happen. No matter what your feelings are on them, that affordable housing, and just for the record, I'm an affordable housing developer in the city, will happen. And as a township, we look forward to it. Deputy Mayor.
Okay. Oh, I'm not saying it's not lawful, and I'm not saying I'm against it. What I'm saying is what I
Okay,
have personally experienced
we're
where
gonna-
I live.
Thank you.
Where I live has been horrendous.
Ms. Garland, we're going to go into the next
That's
questions.
all.
We're going to be wrapping up in a
Okay,
few
thank
minutes, and I'm going to have Ms. Rogovan speak, and then you're going to end the night bat and clean up, or should we say? Well, Mr. Rogovan's going to speak first, and then you got the Alex Rasheen cleanup spot. The Ken Hoffman cleanup spot.
I'm really glad to see people here who I've never met before. I've lived here 42 years. Phil and I are both involved in fighting the Crossroads development over in the south, in the western section of Teaneck North and south of Cedar Lane. And I think this meeting is happening because of what didn't happen with the Crossroads, where the project was sprung on us. This is what it's going to be, whether you like it or not. This is what it's going to be. And it was all, I won't go into the details of the horrendous plan, but we've now changed, hopefully, the way the council deals with us, the public, about what is going to go into our neighborhoods. And so I hope that this will be the first or one of the first meetings. I don't see the council meetings as the same as this kind of meeting. At a council meeting, you speak through for 3 minutes. It's not a conversation. It's not a discussion. So I would hope that there be more meetings like this where the plans can be brought to the public can respond. You can have, full input. Not 3 minutes, but full input. It's really important that those of you who don't know the process in town, that all the neighbors come out and speak and express your opinions, because otherwise you will have what you don't want. We need people to be in favor of what's going to go in and not strongly opposed to it. I missed the beginning of the meeting, so I didn't know how many.
We're going to put it online. So
How many affordable units there will be?
5.
5.
I have
Okay.
20, and everything will be online. You can watch it later.
Okay, and anybody who wants to talk to Phil or to me, there are other people around all sections of town, all neighborhoods. We have neighborhood associations that are discussing these issues, and we'd love to work with we welcome everybody in that process because it's our town.
Thank you, Paula. Let's take the last question. Send us home.
Thanks, I'll be quick. So the extreme of having the restaurant, I live on Golf Court, and that's a nightmare, and you've heard that, and we all know that. But this does feel like another extreme, and there's so many unknowns as a homeowner, and I wondered if there's consideration for townhousing so that there's less people on this plot in this area. Townhomes.
Oh.
That kind of a structure.
So a townhouse development would consume all of the property with buildings. They'd be 3 stories tall, and it would be as impactful as the earlier drawings I showed of the 4-story building.
But less
So
families, right?
We'd have probably more people. Because townhouses have 2 and 3 bedrooms, you'd be introducing more people.
The only area of Teaneck, and what Conrad's just trying to say is this property is not large enough for townhomes. So if you look at the one site in Teaneck that they've done townhomes in the last decade, and I don't know, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, it's the Haluba site on Palisade Avenue. Because that site, it has, I want to say it's at least 7 acres. It's a big site. It was a former factory. I didn't even believe how far it went back when I went onto the site. And you can do garages, 3-story buildings, have, drive aisles the proper width per the residential site improvement standards, have turnarounds for fire trucks. You need a lot more property to do a townhouse type of development than this is like less than a half acre.
Yeah.
It's a lot
So
smaller.
I think it's just the height of the, it's
No,
huge.
So your
it's a big-
comment
yeah.
is constructive.
Mhm.
So what we'll do is we think the 5-story works, but we'll try to see if we could, Conrad can look at his design, look at the impact of the height. We'll do a traffic report, which was asked of us. We'll look at the site triangle. We'll look at the left turn issue with the county. We'll look at the sidewalk issue that somebody else mentioned. So those are all the types of constructive comments that we wanted. We'll also look at the pedestrian safety in based on the fact that a lot more people, from what we've heard, are taking the buses in the area.
Mhm.
So we'll take a look at that as well with our site engineer and traffic engineer.
And I'll end the meeting by saying we'll have our health department take a look at the current neighborhood in terms of the neighbors, the chicken left on, sorry, we left already. With how they've been handling the neighborhood, the health department, and we'll stop by and we'll speak with them and ask them to remind them how to be neighbors. Please, if you have a chance, sign up for the alerts on the township website. We alert all the meetings. This meeting there was 21 emails that went out about this meeting, so please sign up. Also, you can always address the council by email, council@teanecknj.gov. My right there, or my email as well is mschwartz@teanecknj.gov. We have meetings almost every night, so if you want to get involved, or ask more questions, come out anytime. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, sir.